Good. Okay, you guys all ready? All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'll go ahead and call to order the November 6th meeting of the Waldo 5J Board of Education. If you would take a moment, please silence your cell phones and rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ms. Diagano, would you please call roll? Here. We do need to approve an agenda for this evening.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
We have one by Director Proctor, a second by Vice President Sassano to approve the agenda as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. We have an agenda. It does not look like we have any citizen comments on agenda items. So we'll move into staff and celebrations and recognitions. But what I told most of you prior to the start of the meeting, that we were going to go into the other room and watch the concert, it's not going to happen because kids aren't here. So, well, that was kind of a bummer. That was good. That was a good program. So, but yeah, Superintendent Nielsen, do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Tonight, just a couple of celebrations that I want to bring to light. First of all, I had a chance today to enjoy the senior showcase at Roosevelt High School. I had a chance to do one-on-ones with between 15 and 20 seniors, and I was impressed. I told Assistant Superintendent Kramer, it gave me chills in many of as they're planning what's next for them. They had a chance to either job share or do a job interview in a profession that they're interested in, and a pretty robust presentation that followed, including setting up a budget based on salary, but takeaways from what they learned on the job or in the experience, and just the kind of work you want to see students engaged in. It included the communication back and forth on a professional level, which I think is something overlooked often, is how we communicate today and how we communicate when we get out in the professional world. And each one of the students today was able to share the communication they had early, but also to close out and kind of a thank you email. So I'm just impressed with the way it was set up. I also was really pleased to see the way we're using the Performing Arts Center. The way it was set up had you spread out enough, you didn't feel like you were walking on each other like sometimes can happen in a gym. It just had a good feel today. So that's my first. And the second one is something we've talked about before, but our two groups at MES that are working on the impact teams. They met again yesterday, and just the response from the teachers and the work they've put in is pretty astonishing. What they've been able to accomplish in a short period of time, and the energy it's ramped up in that building for it to broaden. And so I just, as you tonight had a chance to see and approve in the consent agenda the plan for MES, I just want to call attention to the teachers there that are continuing to engage with each other, thinking about what they're asking students to do. But then really what they did yesterday was take a look at all the students and evaluate where they were and what the adults were going to do to respond, which is just a positive practice for the adults. So those are the two things I just want to celebrate tonight. In addition to, we're in the winter sports season, so some of you had a chance already to get out and see some of our winter sports and getting our arena used the way the board designed it. And it's a pretty impressive place to walk into. And we from other schools, it's a pretty imposing place to walk into. So kudos to the work the board and this district did to design a place that allows students to feel special. And that's one more example of how space impacts outcomes or impacts experience, not necessarily even outcome, but experience. And so, so I think that's a good place for me to stop tonight.
Okay. Any others? I would just, I dovetail on into that. I believe on December 14th there's a wrestling match, and that they'll be honoring Mike Pilato for 50 years of coaching wrestling in the district. So it goes back into my time a little bit. So
It'd be like a wrestling match between you two. Good memory.
well, so the memories are pretty bad because I was not a wrestler. I say I was the wrestling dummy, because what would happen is he always had these wrestling magazines, and I had shop class with him, and he'd flip through the wrestling magazine, he'd see this cool wrestling move, and he'd say, "Hey, Wales, come here." And it usually ended up with me being the wrestling dummy, him doing the move on me to see how effective it was. So I was really tied in pretzels with that. So
I was trying to get you to wrestle.
right.
Teaching you, trying to get you to wrestle.
Well, maybe so. I don't think he wanted me on his team. He was smart. You don't get 50 years by not being able to identify some talent along the way. We'll move on to reports and comments from board members.
I'll just piggyback on what Superintendent Bill was talking about, is to go to the capstone presentations today too. Mrs. Kramer was there. And I have a senior. Her capstone is going to be next semester. But I got to go. I have a child graduated a few years ago, so I've been getting to go the last few years, and I am so impressed with the capstone project theory. Is students research an area that they're really interested in pursuing in the future, and a lot of the students go into those fields of study. And some of the capstone projects end with, I didn't think this is a career for me. So it helps them either solidify that maybe that is something they want to study in the future, or sometimes it goes the opposite way where they think, well, I think maybe I should go down a different path. So what a great way to prepare our students, and I'm so impressed. Part of their curriculum is reaching out, making phone calls, writing letters, we're doing thank you letters, and asking great questions. So love to be able to go and see that. So it was awesome. Really, really good stuff. So that's all I have.
Okay. Any others?
Sure. I also went to the senior capstone, and I don't think I can say anything different or better than either of you. I enjoy going, and it's to meet the kids and have them talk to you about the thing. I haven't been to a board meeting in a minute because I went to a conference for my work that kind of interfered with the board schedule. But the CGFOA conference, which is Colorado Government Office of Finance Officers Association conference, super nerdy conference with a bunch of accountants. As I was there, I was talking to a bond underwriting firm, and it was interesting. They had told me that in next year on the ballot across the entire state of Colorado, they're estimating $1 to $2 billion of construction bonds being on ballots, and they're only thinking about half of them are estimated to actually pass. And it's incredible that there's that much construction need across the state. It's incredible to look at the stats. Only about the experts are only expecting half to pass. But the thing that flew through my brain is oh no, all these people who are going out to bond and to get construction loans are going to get awesome vendors. And I know that when you have a good vendor in a construction relationship, you have a positive outcome on your construction project. And I know that we're thinking about that. And I just want to make sure, hoping to have our preferred vendors when we go out to do that, and they're not tied up with other construction projects. That's the thing that flies through my mind, is I want to make sure we get the preferred vendor. But that was something I thought about when we were there. And other than that, just going to town events and seeing the Interact kids volunteering and different things. I've seen Miss Borson out with those Interact kids, and it's great to see them sprinkled in the community, really serving and giving back to their community in school type events.
All right. Amy? Nothing. I did not make the showcase one. I'm hoping for the next one. I did 2 weeks ago. We had BOCES meeting to kick off the year, and I had plenty of things to brag about on our district. They're sick of me because we had such an awesome fall. So lots to talk about there. Last week, the work-based learning, Northern Colorado work-based learning, which is essentially Weld County and Lake County Workforce Development, they had their meeting at Roosevelt. It was cool because you got to see a lot of the building, but there's going to be some really exciting stuff coming out of that group, especially for our students, obviously, because it's work-based learning. And then I talked a little bit in the work session about it was during the President's Cafe 2 weeks ago also that I was able to talk with the people in Durango who are going to be presenting at the convention about bringing student leadership into the board and having some seat on board for students. So that was a bunch of fun. You said something sparked it, and I can't.
On the schools for construction.
Vendors, maybe, I don't know.
Bonds, ballot.
Ballot.
I'm going to
I
keep
don't
saying words.
DOT
Accounting nerd convention.
Think of it. If it comes up, I'll bring it up at the end of the meeting or something. So that's all I've got. We good? All right, let's move on to our superintendent's office.
All right, thanks, President Wales. I think first thing I just want to share with the board tonight, you've had a chance to see, I think, as I've continued to get comfortable or more comfortable in the role, a couple things coming down the pike. One is I had a chance to sit with President Wills and Vice President Sassano and go through the first 90, 100-day, the plan I proposed when I was sitting with you as a candidate last spring, to give an update on where that is. And we're working on a report to tie all that together for the board. But the other thing is trying to communicate, as I have gone through these meetings, to think about all the things going on in the district, another way to share all the things I get to do day in and day out. And so the last couple of weeks, and we'll continue with a little Friday update that shares a glimpse into what my day-to-day work looks like. And so you have a chance to see what I'm engaged in with and who I'm engaged with. So tonight I just want to call out a couple of things. We had District Advisory Committee last week, the second time we've met here. And the focus last week, we got a chance to hear the school improvement plan from KQA. But then the majority of the time we had Tabitha Erb, who's the parent from town, who's doing our updating our websites. And it was relatively early in the process, but enough that she was able to share with the District Advisory Committee what it's going to look like, how it's going to lay out, and have some back and forth. Monica had a chance to see what it looked like. And then we did the same thing the next morning with the parent group that we meet with once a month at the library. And both groups were super positive about the changes, the way it looks, but also I think even more excited about the way it's going to operate. I'd say user-friendly, more of a tool for us instead of, right now it's almost a place to archive stuff. And so I think Tabitha left energized, felt really good about the fact. And I think both Tammy and I did too, feeling like we're on the right track. We thought we'd be ready to board and with that parent group actually send you a link and have you start looking at what isn't working. She's not quite yet, so she's going to continue to work. I think we have a meeting with her again next week. But I'd say in terms of what she's working at lightning speed to think it'll be an updated district site will be and then a spoke out to each of our 5 schools with a link to both our charter schools. And so the 5 district schools plus the district 1, all are being overhauled. All will have the same feel and operate the same way.
Yeah, that's cool.
So it's pretty neat to see. And so that's one of the celebrations or things we engaged in last week. I had a chance in the walkthroughs we've been doing all fall. Last week, Assistant Superintendent Kramer and myself spent a couple of hours at KQA. We got in and out of every classroom. Had a chance to see some of what's going on in that building. I had a chance myself to spend some time at Civica last week. Some of you know we were in negotiations all day yesterday. I had my first formal meeting with Mayor Austin earlier this week. We had a chance to meet and talk about the Meteorite Barbecue Days celebration that Johnstown's planning for the coming summer, and the use of our spaces to do bringing back. Some of you may remember they've done a musical. They're bringing back the musical. That'll be in the PAC during the time the Meteorite celebration's happening. There's also during the Meteorite celebrations, the speakers coming in that will do that in the Performing Arts Center. A rock and gem show is planned, as well as a drone show, which will be part of that event as well. And then also starting to tag in with barbecue days and how we leverage Roosevelt High School, which I think goes back to it being a community space. And so those conversations kicked off in earnest. I don't remember if it was earlier this week, last week, it all runs together. So that's probably a good place for me to stop.
Your questions?
I'll just make a quick comment. I really like the Friday updates. That's been really fun. I've enjoyed being able to take a peek at your very, very busy schedule and see it. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, those have been nice.
Thank you, and thanks, Ivana, for helping make that happen.
She's a superstar.
She is a superstar.
So I remembered what I was going to say, and I will share it, because it was the capstones that reminded me of it. So every year for the last 4 or 5 years now, I've been a judge for the district FBLA competition. And I just got an email. They're looking for judges for this, the district, which is going to be late January, like January 30th or something like that, January. So if anybody's interested, I will forward that email on to you. It is pretty awesome. Just see kids from all around our district, specifically our district, do their performances. So I'll pass that out to you guys if you want. It's a Google form you can go through, fill it out. Interested, I'll get back to you and let you know. So.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, let's. We have this update on this mill levy certification timeline. We're going to have to meet again.
So thank you, President Whale, members of the Board of Education, and Superintendent Nielsen. Tonight, I'd like to give a couple updates on things concerning our mill levy certification for the past year. So the thing is that normally at this meeting, I would be presenting to the board and asking for approval of the district's mill levy certifications for the 2024 tax year. However, the special session of the legislature was called before Thanksgiving, and on November 20th, the governor signed S23B-001 to address the property tax increases that Colorado taxpayers are looking at for the next tax year to try to mitigate some of those increases. So look at kind of some of the highlights and the changes for that bill. The residential property assessment rate drops from 6.765% to 6.7%. Actual value of residential property will be reduced by $55,000 for this upcoming tax year, as opposed to what was currently would have been a $15,000 reduction. So we get a $40,000 extra decrease in their actual value for residential property. They did also change the certification dates. Our new dates are so January 3rd. Final certification values from the counties will be due to the district. and January 10th, the deadline for the district to transmit its mill levies to the counties. Looking at what our action plan will be for this new schedule. So we do have a regularly scheduled board meeting on January 3rd. So we will have both final certifications from counties on that day. So we will be able to not have a special board meeting and be able to do it through regular course of business. District administration will ask the board to certify mill levies at the January 3rd meeting, and district administration will transmit district's mill levies to the counties on January 4th. On to the governor's request for mill levy reduction by school districts. On November 29th, Governor Polis sent an email to school district directors and superintendents asking that school districts reduce their mill levies, asking school districts to reduce the mill levies that they have discretion over to offer some degree of property relief for Colorado taxpayers. Looking at wording in the mill levy increase that our district passed in 2020, it begins, shall Weld County School District RE5 pay taxes be increased $4 million annually? And then there was something additional after that. But that's kind of the main thrust of it. Districts that have wording in their mill levy overrides things like up to, or something that gives some level, that arguably gives some level of discretion, would be able to really legally do something with their mill levies if they chose to. However, our wording locks us in to the specific dollar mill levies that we've been assessing. And as the board knows, our mill levies are dollar-based. So we mill $4.5 million. Other districts' mill overrides are mill-based. So they would mill, for example, 6 mills or something like that. Those districts, so if our district had mill levy override was set up that way, the revenue generated from the mills that we would mill for would have more than doubled. So, but as it stands right now, the number of mills that the district will assess this coming year will actually decrease because our assessed valuation increased so much. So this concludes my presentation and answering questions the board may have.
Any questions from the governor? Yeah.
I do have a couple questions, Mr. Rivers. The schedule, how confident are you that we're actually going to get the information you needed by January 3rd?
So with Weld County, I got an email from both counties basically saying kind of the same thing. With Weld, they did say that they were anticipating being able to get us our final valuation. I believe it was December 20th, so around December 20th. I don't know about Larimer didn't say anything, but I mean the date is the 3rd, January 3rd. So I would anticipate that we will have it by then, because that's what's dictated to the law. So I have a high degree of confidence that we'll be able to. Worst case scenario, I get it from Larimer on the 3rd. I will have already done all the pre-work. It will basically just be plugging in Larimer's number and then just updating the resolution that I'll present to the evening. So it's just as long as I get it before the board meeting, we'll be able to carry forward. Almost too late.
Any other questions? So typically we hold that, we schedule that meeting that second meeting in the month of December for the mill levy certifications. Are we, at this point, are we looking like we have any other business that we would need to conduct on the 20th?
We have a seconding of the policy tonight that we initially talked about pushing until the 3rd initially, so I think it's possible we could not have a formal meeting
Okay.
on
We won't draw any lines in the sand tonight, but just be aware that we may just call to not have that meeting since there won't be any business. We can get an early start on the holidays, right?
Can I ask you a question? With the delay in the mill levy certification, is that going to delay your budget amendment?
No.
Okay.
No, I mean, because I know that somehow, whatever the number of mills is, I'm going to mill for 4.5 million.
Okay, any other questions? All right, thank you, sir. We'll move our consent agenda. So our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure provide for a consent agenda listing several items for approval of the board by motion. Most of the items listed under the consent agenda have gone through board review and recommendation. Documentation concerning these items has been provided to all board members and the public in advance to assure an extensive and thorough review. Any item may be from the consent agenda at the request of any board member. Otherwise, I would entertain a motion.
Should we approve the consent agenda as presented?
We have a motion by President Sassano, a second by Director Johnson to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any comments, questions? I've got to say it. I mean, I'm glad to see the Unified Improvement Program. Yes, as I said in the last meeting, I think many of us said in the last meeting when they gave us the presentation that it's the work that has gone into that has been so intentional and so student focused. I can't help but think it's going to be wildly successful for them, and so I'm excited to see them begin implementing that and see where it comes. So, any other comments or discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Diagano, would you please pull the board?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We'll move on to our special business, our salary schedule and wage update. Mr. Rodriguez.
President Wells, members of the board, Superintendent Nielsen, as presented earlier in our work session, I bring to you today a proposed change to our classified salary schedule. The main reason for the change is that the federal minimum wage was fixing on January 1st. So we have reflected on that increase on this new salary schedule, as well as we have made one minor change to our special education paraprofessional pay to allow us to become a little bit more competitive and fill some of those unfilled positions from the past semester. I presented this work session. If there's any other further questions, then we're prepared to bring this forward.
Any other questions, comments on this?
Yeah, I'll make a comment. I appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know that creating salary schedules and double checking them isn't necessarily easy work. The people who are recipients are appreciative. And I like that the proposed increases for the sped paraprofessionals is there. I was doing math while you were talking, and above the cost of, not the cost of them, the minimum wage, it's a 16.5% increase for people in those positions, and I think that's significant. I mean, 16.5% above the minimum wage increase, that's not even looking at that, is pretty cool. And so hopefully it does help you reach your goal of fulfilling those positions, which is all what we can hope for.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll motion to adopt the revised 2023-2024 classified salary schedules as presented.
We have a motion by Director Proctor, a second by Director Johnson to approve the revised 2023-2024 classified staff salary schedules as presented. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, Ms. Diagono, would you please poll the board?
Onyx Johnson? Yeah. Amanda Proctor?
Yes.
Kate Pisano?
Yes.
Amy Musgrave? Yes. Michael Witt?
Yes. We'll move on to our new business. We have policy amendments to JLCD. Superintendent Nielsen.
Wayland board members, tonight we have with us Tabitha Miller to talk about an update to policy around how we support medicines in school, policy JLCD. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tabitha.
Good evening, members of the board, President Wales, and Superintendent Nielsen. We are proposing to amend JLCD to reflect current regional practices, and I'll even go further and say state practices. We are proposing to adjust it for that reason. There are updates within it that I would like to bring up that will immediate adjustment. So with this policy proposal, elementary students would be able to have over-the-counter medications when parents are bringing them in, but only for preventative needs. So that would be chapstick, cough drops, and that. We would not be able to provide Tylenol or ibuprofen and things like that. This policy update without standing orders from a primary care physician, as nurses are not able to provide medication without standing orders. Another important update would be for our secondary students. So with this policy proposal, secondary students would be able to carry on-base notes, Tylenol or ibuprofen, Dayquil, something like that, that parents provide them before coming to school. The parents would have to let the school know that their students are going to take or self-administer that medication throughout the day. If it's something that's ongoing, it would be a doctor's standing order. There are a few other pieces to this. So there are preventative medications that would be allowed for parents to provide would be the sunscreen.
Any questions?
Does it include inhalers or
So that part of the JLCD would still remain the same. We did choose to redact them because there were some pieces that we added those that have had. So healthcare plans would still remain the same. The primary care physician would still have to have a standing order, write the healthcare plan, the nurse would all have to sign off on that too. For our secondary students, if they are self-administering for those and show the nursing staff they're able to.
This really does focus on over-the-counter medications.
We had online registration just permission with that, and several of our nurses have been confident that regionally we need to get up to speed with that.
How are you going to communicate this to the parents who have been used to the prior policies?
So in thinking about that, I have been working with the nursing team on communication as well. So should the board choose to do this during the second reading, we would push out the message for Christmas so that winter break students go already on. The time to go to the doctor to get a statement for it. We would also ask the building administrator to push out patient regulations so that we can.
Is it reflective of state laws? Did I hear you said that this is reflective of new state laws?
Not state laws, state practices. So districts in the state or in the state Colorado have shifted away from providing over-the-counter medications for schools providing it into parents providing over-the-counter medications for preventative measures. Everything
laws, because I wondered how much say we had in this, if it's a state, if it's reflective of state laws, but practices, which means we do have some say in how it goes. Okay, thank you. Can I ask one more question just about the timeline? You said you wanted to get stuff out before Christmas, which means we have to approve it before. So if we, or if we cancel that meeting because we don't need that and approve first meeting in January, it just messes with the calendar for you guys. So I don't know. Not that I'm calling for a special.
And this is the kind of, I mean, these are the kind of policy amendments that I wouldn't rush into a second reading anyways, especially around the holidays, just to give families the time to understand and communication to go out to show it. So, good work on this. So, any other questions? So this is the first reading of this, these amendments to this policy. So these will be up on the website. They'll be available for the public to view and make any comments or suggestions, which then we'll bring back in for a second reading. And that is at the second reading is when we typically will vote to either adopt or reject the amendments. And it could go to a third reading too. So. All right. We will move on. Try my right tab here. We'll move on to citizen comments on general topics. We have a list of 6 individuals who have asked to speak. All of you who asked to speak, you probably got a copy of the guidelines for public comment. I'm gonna go through it really quick, some high points. But so as stated in board policy, which we just got done talking about policy, board policy BEDH, the Board of Education does desire and encourage members of the public to share their comments and viewpoints. The board meeting agenda provides for an opportunity for members of the public to address the board. The board suggests that most announcements, problems, questions, or requests be channeled through the school district's administration. If the citizen feels the item cannot be handled properly by the administration, the board suggests that the district director, and that's each one of us are directors of in which the citizen resides, we ask that they be contacted to solicit advice on best how to proceed. We got a few more. All right. Contact information for all of us is currently on the school's district's website at WellDari5J. I'm not got that whole thing, but you have it on your sheet there. The board meeting does operate in accordance to the agenda that is developed in advance. One of the things I really want to stress here, because this kind of makes it an awkward situation for both the board and for the public making comments. The board will not engage in a conversation with you. We'll hear what you have to say, but we're not going to answer questions, and we're not going to engage in a conversation with you. So don't hit a hard pause and expect an answer, because you're not going to get awkward. Occasionally, though, for reasons of expediency or clarification, I may correct anything that may be actually inaccurate that gets stated. But typically, we give the time to you to speak. That's if you're not here. So just a few other guidelines here. So anybody who wanted to speak should have signed up. I do have those names here. We will limit you to 3 minutes per speaker, unless 2 or more of you want to combine your time, and we can go up to 7 minutes. I ask that you respect that limit. I like to think of myself as a pretty fair guy. If you're running a little long, or you have something written that you're working your way through, I'm not gonna hatch at you at 3 minutes. But don't take advantage of that, please. Don't do that. I will ask you to move it along. Mr. Everest will be keeping time, and so he will say to me at the minute mark, you're not going to get, it's not a Toastmasters, you're not going to get green, red, or green, yellow, red. He's just going to say, President West, it's 3 minutes. I'll ask you to, if you're still talking, I'll ask you to kind of help move it along. This is one that there are a couple here. Please direct all your comments to the board. Don't direct it to staff. Don't direct it to other people in the audience. Direct everything to the board. We don't want to create side conversations or hurt people who are in the audience or staff members. And then this is probably the most important one. So again, matters of personnel matters. If you were at our last special board meeting when we got sworn in, one of the things we had to fill out was a statement of confidentiality. We will not talk about personnel items. Exceptions on that. Any written material that you have that you want the board to review, we'll hang on to that because we need to keep that in the public record. So if you do have something you want to show us, just be prepared to leave it behind. If you need to go make a quick copy, do that. Would really appreciate if we don't have any disruptive comments or anything disrespectful. We want to be respectful of you. We ask that you do the same with us. And we have topics here, so I might go a little out of order to try to group things together because it looks like we do have one that's kind of out of the topic. So with all that being said, I would ask Rachel Tuttle? Rochelle? Okay. Yeah, and if you would, just for the record, state your name and address, please.
3321 Willow Lane.
And okay, and whenever you're. Oh well, that's a given.
I guess my biggest concern, and which seems to be an issue across the district lately, just talking to the parents, our children do not have enough time to eat lunch. They're not given enough time. I come and see my kids for lunch on a regular basis. And I've seen it as bad as 3 to 5 minutes to actually eat them. We are told they get 20 minutes, but parents are unaware that time includes coming down for lunch, standing in line, and then being sent. Sorry. Being affected by teachers being late to lunch, sometimes as much as 5 minutes, which 20 minutes. Kids are standing in line for lunch for up to 10 minutes at a time. That's the worst I've seen. It's pretty bad. And because sometimes you have 2 or 3 cafeteria staff, but one person dishing out it, and then they just seem to just generally be unprepared as a whole. Kids finally get to sit down and eat their lunch, and they're usually given a warning before it's time to go out that it's like 3 minutes or so, and then that's early as well, usually about 2 minutes early. Kids are also, in my experience, given the opportunity to sit and eat about a minute or 2 after being out, and the whole time being rushed. I don't feel like I need to explain why it's important that kids eat lunch. I feel like we all are here and understand that. Being here, it's just become kind of a time of anxiety for kids, which is really upsetting. I see kids in line towards the end start to cry a little, or even get out of line and give up on lunch. It's just not okay. I'm sorry a little, but yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm upset. I just feel like something obvious needs to be done. I find it really odd that we, at this point, give kids free lunch, but don't guarantee they actually get to eat it. So I guess that's where I'll at. Thank you.
Can you ask one clarifying question?
Yeah.
Ms. Tuttle, which schools are your children at?
Sorry?
Which schools are your children at? Can I just clarify that? Which schools are your children at?
My kids are Ella, but again, this is something I hear from other districts or other parents and stuff. It's just something, kids are coming home with full boxes and they're going their kids' bed. I think they realize that the time constraint is. We were so used to kids that, exaggerating what they have and having seen it so regularly. Again, not limited here, and by no means saying that it hasn't shown that, that they do care, but something just as a whole that needs to be done.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I asked that so that we could look into it with the staff. So thank you.
Okay. See, now I'm all nervous about mispronouncing names. I apologize in advance if I butcher any names. Peyton Tyler. Tiller, I see, and that was my first.
Pat Teller, for some reason, it works, I guess. Good evening, district members. My name is Peyton Tiller, I'm 19 years old, a graduate student from Roosevelt High School. It's come to my attention over the past month or so, one of our most beloved and devoted teachers, Mr. Judson Doyle, has let go after being on administrative leave effective on the 20th, what I understand. Heard rumors and speculations about this whole situation. Granted, we are a small town, and we hear things on Facebook. But as a community of former and current students, teachers, and team, having my younger sibling who is a freshman experience this is very outraging and saddening. Not only did he not have one last chance to say anything to the students, but I feel like there was no transparency from this district whatsoever. We understand that there are certain restrictions on information that cannot be shared between parties and the public, but as a community, we have a right to speak out on this act of role. As for all of us, it breaks our hearts to have such a passionate teacher who spread positivity in every person and in everything he teaches. He's very passionate about everything. Doyle was that teacher you could go to for help on a problem, walk through it. He made any sort of lesson fun and exciting while still implementing knowledge to stick to our brains. He was also very respectful and understanding to all the students, no matter if they were in his class or not. He was very respectful to his colleagues as well. Doyle is a very down-to-earth person in general. I've heard many students and teachers speak positively about Mr. Doyle. It's really baffling to see him let go all the time. I thank every person, whether you're here or just in general, for supporting Doyle through these difficult times and making sure he is very much loved at RHS. Like to speak to all the teachers who pour their hearts and souls into their students. We thank you and appreciate you each and every day. And for something like this to happen is unacceptable. No one wants to experience being let go from any job, but to have someone so impactful in this community is absolutely devastating. Is it okay if I hand you guys some screenshots of something real quick?
Sure, we'll have to keep them.
That's fine. I made it in pairs, so I could want to encourage you. Yeah.
Thank you.
These are all the Facebook comments that have been made recently. They're back to back as well, so I bring on.
President Wales, 3 minutes.
Okay.
That's small.
Go ahead.
As you can see, you're going to such an amazing person, bringing a team of wonderful teachers, and someone who we all love and respect. We understand it may not be in our power to make something happen, or maybe if it's not in yours. We hope that our voice is heard, taken seriously, and everyone stays positive. I'd also like to acknowledge the students at RHS for organizing a peaceful walkout / protest on Monday. We are this community too, and we hope we can gather more understanding and encouragement on future subjects like this, so we can let our voices be heard and understood. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Scott. Did I do it right?
Yep.
Sweet.
Hello, board members. I'm Kara Scott. I'm here to speak on Doyle's behalf. And thank you for your willingness to be here. And appreciate that. Personally, I believe Mr. Doyle, our science teacher, has shown us learning can be enjoyable and fun by meeting students where they're at and making learning more engaging by personally connecting with his students and their learning style. This has made our class more lively. He is a freshman, junior, and senior science teacher. We support our teacher and his enthusiasm for teaching, which has inspired students for years. We stand with his engaging methods and practices that have helped us have a better scope of the wonderful world around us, and hope that he continues to be able to teach here for many years to come. As a current student at RHS,
I can wholeheartedly say that Mr. Doyle is one of the best teachers to walk the doors of high school. His smile and greetings in the morning make school a better place and a place where kids want to come to. From his super lame dad jokes to the extremely exciting explanations that make the class engaged, to him standing on his desk to prove a point about the lesson, is the fact that Doyle has a passion for teaching. Here's what his students, and above all, he takes pride in teaching science.
Thank you, Ms. Scott. Christy Radicher? Radicher. Okay.
Okay. I've never done this before. Thank you so much for your time tonight and letting me speak. I have 2 points that I want to go and 2 calls of action that I want to ask the board to do. Hello, my name is Christy Rudicher. I have lived in Johnstown since 2007. My children, Conlon and Rudicher, have attended Lutford Elementary School, Milliken Middle School, and graduated from Roosevelt High School. As adults, they have settled down in Milliken and Johnstown and made this community their home. I want to start tonight by stating that I stand by Doyle. I am so thankful for his dedication, knowledge, passion, loyalty, and skill set that he has contributed to this community and our students over these years. Mr. Doyle played an intricate part in the trajectory of many students' lives by being a teacher who makes learning fun while creating an environment for our students to thrive in. My kids have nothing but things to say about him too. In fact, comments, words exactly texted to me were best teacher in the whole world, and Kelsey's comments to me were genuinely one of the best teachers there. My hope is that this school district will immediately to reinstate Mr. Doyle if that is in your powers, and get him back to doing what he has been doing and does best, teaching our children. I also need to address something else here tonight. My dad, Johnny Black, was the lead, worked for Weld County School District for over 14 years, lead custodian. He started at Weld County RE5J, working at Lethbridge doing crossing and custodial positions, and then Sodexo was hired to manage the janitorial systems. Sodexo then hired my dad. When Sodexo either completed their contract or did not renew, ABM was then contracted, and that is when everything in my end started to kind of go downhill. I also need to kind of mention right now at this point that over 14 service for my dad with this school district, there was never any documented or filed complaint against my dad. When EF came in, they had expectations of more work with less people. When my parents and aunt were all, and who are all, and have been custodians, began working under ABM, they were understaffed, overworked, and ignored when confronting concerns. ABM started their contract August, and my purpose for being here with this tonight is on November 10th, they called my dad into a meeting with Camille and suspended him pending an investigation on alleged comments and complaints about my dad and treated him like a criminal. Stated that this was at the request of Weld County RE5J School District, as even written on the form. They walked him to the door, asked if he needed anything out of his office, and my dad, who was in complete shock and disbelief, said no and walked home. He called my mom crying because he was still in the school. She was still in the school working while this was going on, and she had no idea what was going on. He told her that they had told him to be banned from the premises. My mom went to go meet with Camille and Kendra and asked what in the world was going on, and they stated they didn't have to tell her anything, and they didn't care if she was his wife or not. Mom quit right then and there and walked out the door.
3 minutes have elapsed.
I have like this much left on the page.
Sure.
Okay. Sorry, I lost my place. Sorry. Asked what in the world was going on, and they said they didn't have to tell her anything, and they didn't care if she was his wife or not. My mom quit. So for the 2 weeks of his suspension, he reached out to Camille via text and asked, and ABM's HR department via voicemail, and asked for a return to phone call. Gosh, I'm stuttering. In his text to Camille, he asked how long was he suspended, when was he going to be able to come back to work. They did not state if this was a pay or without pay. Camille responded with, we will let you know when we know something. For a family living on Social Security and paycheck to paycheck, you might understand the challenge that this presented. So on November 22nd, before Thanksgiving, Camille called my dad and stated that at the direction of Weld RE5J, my dad was fired. She said she was so sorry, and she fought so hard with Weld County to keep his job, and they said no. She also stated that she would do anything in her power to make sure that he got and qualified for unemployment. Tonight, I guess to the board because ABM is subcontracted to provide janitorial services for our schools. I have concerns you are not aware of the things that they are doing or saying and shifting all the blame to the decisions that they are making to the school district. I also think that you may want to research and confirm that they are genuinely cleaning the schools according to the standards required, because based on what was being seen, they were not. With COVID, flu, RSV, and other illnesses that appear to be spreading through our community, we really need to raise concerns about that as well. This is what I'm asking the school board to do. I'm asking that the school board consider an investigation into ABM's conduct and practices and what they're doing. And I'm also going to ask that they set up a meeting, interview, or discussion of some sort with Johnny and Susie Glasscock, Wendy Albrecht, and Lucy. I don't know her last name, but she was the janitor that has been with this district for over 20 plus years and was never rehired at ABM. And when open positions were available, and my family reached out to her, let them know there was a position coming available, ABM stated they had positions available, and I would not even hear her. So that is all I have for tonight. I want to say a heart thank you for listening to my concerns with what's going on and just bringing awareness to maybe if you don't know what is kind of going on behind closed doors with this contracted company. Thank you again, and thank you to the community for your positive feedback and support as well.
Thank you, Ms. Moody. Peter Hollywood.
Good evening, Superintendent Nelson and the members of the board. My name is Peter Hollywood, and I currently attend Roosevelt High School. In fact, I am the sophomore class vice president representing 312 students. Approximately a third of those students, or 100, had Mr. Doyle last year. Considering he started teaching at Roosevelt in 2009, that would mean he's impacted the lives of at least 1,456 people. 14 years he's been teaching there, 168 months, 730 weeks, 122,640 hours, 7,363,440 minutes, 441,806,400 seconds. Where I learned to do that math? Mr. Doyle's class, my freshman year. When this situation came about almost a month ago, the first thing my peers and I did was reminisce on fun memories where we shared in his class, such as debating the physics of Star Wars and math to learn how many gallons of water 2 blue bills would displace. We also remember the times where things got rough and Mr. Doyle took the time out of his day to ensure our health and well-being. But most importantly, at the end of the day, we realized what a dang good, fantastic teacher he is. I'm not lying when I tell you that he very may well be the best teacher to walk those halls. I brought my 9th grade science notebook with me here today. Every student who has been in this class has an identical notebook. And looking through it today, I realized how insane it is that I was taught all of this in only 10 months and completely understood it. That never happens to anybody and truly proves that Mr. Doyle has a gift for what he does. And if he didn't, God is he passionate about it. I have peers in my chemistry class that really struggle with dimensional analysis, while myself and others who have been given the pleasure of Doyle's class breezed right through it. Mr. Doyle isn't only important for the continuation of high school, but also to adult life. I know several people, including my older sister, taken this notebook to college and used it every day. There is one small thing that holds this town together, and it has since its creation in 1907. We all go to the same high school. For over a decade, every person in this town has experienced at least a little bit of Mr. Doyle, along with some other teachers, and I truly believe that it is what holds us together as a community. I wish I was provided a better understanding of the situation. What I do know and understand is that this school district has made a great mistake this last month. I urge you to reevaluate policy, ensure that policy was followed, and whatever happened to Mr. Doyle. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And then finally, Leslie Hollywood.
Good evening. Thank you for the time to be here today to listen to my concerns. My name is Leslie Hollywood, and I live at 2146 Blue Wing Drive here in town. I've been a Johnstown resident since 2004, so almost 20 years. I have 3 kids, 2 who are currently in the district at MMS and 1 at RHS. And then I have a graduate who is 24 and lives in Georgia with her fiance, actually also happens to be a Roosevelt graduate. My kids also went through Pioneer Ridge. I talk about the Doyle situation, and I actually want to break it into 2 parts. One, I want to emphasize what a great teacher Doyle truly has been. I have two kids, my oldest daughter, the 24-year-old, and then my 16-year-old, who have both had Doyle, and they are absolutely different learners, different children in every way possible. But that teacher managed to impact both of their lives fully. And even my daughter's fiance, because he had him too, and that kid did not like school, but he liked school. He's a great teacher. I have heard from so many students, so many kids recently about what happened and just what can they do? They come to me and ask what to do. So that's one of the pieces I want to talk about is just whatever's going on there. I want to make sure I'm on the record stating my support for Doyle. But I also want to talk about what happened and how this happened, because I'm going to tell you what happened to me the day that Doyle was removed from the classroom. And I think this is important because I want to know if this is district policy. If it is policy, I'd ask the board to look at this and ask why policy and if it needs to be changed. So I have this pleasure of driving teenagers all over the place in this community. My car is always full of kids, and I'm here tonight with a whole bunch of them. After school, this was, I believe it was on Monday, these kids get in the car and they tell me what happened to Doyle that day. That apparently he was teaching class and he was actually removed, Mr. Benson, during class with these students, with the students in class. He was removed, taken out of the classroom. Taken out of the class, he comes in and he's in tears. So this is a teacher, for some reason, taken out in the middle of class as if this teacher is a criminal, in tears, and he has to pack up his stuff and all these kids who have no idea what is going on. Then he is escorted from the building. A substitute comes in, takes over the class, and everyone is expected to go back to normal. 2 days later, I still hadn't heard anything. I kind of talked to the kids. It could be a family emergency. You never really know. 2 days later, I still hadn't heard anything, so I reached out to Mr. Benson. I told him what I had heard. I let him know my support for Doyle. I understand personnel issues, but I wanted to make sure for our kids' sake that something bad happened to our children. What is going on? I received no response. Next, we had Thanksgiving break.
President Wales, 3 minutes have elapsed.
Over Thanksgiving break, obviously, everyone kind of just forgot what was going on, but it actually took the kids coming back from Thanksgiving break. And it took the kids themselves organizing a school walkout to even get anyone to acknowledge that this teacher, who is so deeply beloved in this community, had for some reason been yanked from his classroom, and of teenagers who, for some reason, the district thinks are mindless infants, that they don't even need answers to what's going on with this teacher who has impacted their lives so much. It took 3 weeks in a high school teenage walkout to even get the district to acknowledge what happened. So what I'd like to know is that policy? Is that written into policy? Was policy followed then? Is that what, should we always expect that when a teacher has an issue? Obviously, if it's a criminal activity, we can expect that, but what happened? As a parent, what would I say? I don't even have those answers. Nobody gave me those answers. What I'd really love to see the district do, and I understand your limitations as far as policy, as far as LSUs, what I would love to see you guys do is to make sure you take a good hard look at why this happened that way, if that is policy. If it is policy, we're up here today, changing nurse policy, medicine policy. You can change that stuff, right? We can make amendments. So I'd like to ask the board to take a deep look at this. We're not a large district. We are not like Coder, who has 55 schools and 30,000 students. We have 5 schools, 2 charters. There's no reason that we can't take a good hard look at what happened here and take a look at what happened with this teacher and make sure the policy is being followed and that the policy is correct. Thank you for your time.
And I apologize, I almost missed this one, but Efren Perez, are you here?
My name is Efren Perez. I live on 17 Oaklands Lane at the Monterey Ridge community. My being here is basically experience some concern to the and some awareness to the community of what's going on in front of my house. The last week of November, they proposed a sober living house to bring about in guys into the community to drug addicts and alcoholics. And so, persons that basically own this place kind of went behind our backs and just sort of getting noticed in the neighborhood. I feel that basically this house is going to pretty major our community, but also probably the next, we're proposing probably another 25 houses in Johnstown or in the Weld County area. To me, it seems like the Johnstown board, before you talk to them, they're kind of hesitant to do everything about it because they want to prevent any losses in that town of Johnstown. I've only been here 2 years in the community. That is, a permanent home for years to come. And now it seems like it's being jeopardized because of this home that's being proposed. And the person that's running this place also came out of the system, drug addict, meth, and cocaine. There was also yesterday an interview from the news, Channel 7, which, in his own work, basically saying that he's doing a great work for the community by bringing people into our community. But again, I myself spent the whole weekend of Thanksgiving just going around my community and just collecting signatures from all this town. As you can see, I think it's a great thing that he's doing, but it's just the wrong community to be in. The bus stop in my community is basically within, I would say, 250 yards from my house. The big part of the community is within 100 yards, and all the traffic for the kids go to middle school, high school, and once they come through the front of my house, and it just seems like this house is just made it so difficult for us to give peace ever since we became aware of it. And I talked to I just sent some
President Wales, 3 minutes have elapsed.
I did send some letters to the Metro, which the Combined Village HOA. They haven't responded yet. We went to the town hall meeting just to make them aware. But so far, it's been, I just got forward, Tammy, because we went to the district today, and that's how I found out there was a meeting for the board. And Matt, who's the town manager, was supposed to, give us an explanation of why this happened, already in place. So just guys, and then just making you guys aware that this house is already came into place, more houses will come, and they're not backing out.
Thank you, Mr. Chris. Okay, that concludes our citizen comments on general topics. Again, just want to thank you all for coming. I think that your presence here underscores the passion that we have, all of us, for our educators and our students and our facilities and our districts. Again, I want to thank you for coming and sharing. I've got lots of good notes here. I think everybody did here. So, do we have any other items deemed necessary by the board? Hearing none, I'll adjourn at 8:08. Thank you, everybody. We just need one copy, so if you want to hang one to peruse.